we have 4 firms today that are going to share one of their technology solutions, and both the location of the firms, the size of the firms, and the nature of their solutions. There's a lot of difference between each. We'll start first with Ansis Spridzans from Latvia. Ansis is the founder and the managing partner of his firm. He is corporate transactional finance, capital markets, investment guy, and he was the chairman of the privatization agency of Latvia before deciding that it would be more fun to run his own law firm. He has a big technology interest and has at least one technology company that he's closely involved with. And I'm going to turn it over to Ansis to tell us a little bit about smart laws.
Okay, so I can start. Yeah, I am a big fan of technologies, so that was probably the reason why we decided that we can do something, can somehow link law and technology and bring added value to the clients, to our clients. What we see before is that legal services generally perceived as a cost issue, and so sometimes with companies where you have very strong legal in-house departments, it's not so easy to build a long-time relationship, because they believe that they are very strong themselves. So if you somehow add technology, you add not only added value to your service which you are providing, but also you can earn additional income from the client. In our case, we have developed a platform called Smart Laws. It is a software tool, online software tool, online platform which allows actually anyone to use either online attorney services in video conference mode, and also to automate documents and implement like legal document automation services. We are quite successful in doing that, and this one of the reasons probably is that now many processes are becoming very regulated. For example, AML regulation is on the rise, and this is not easy for firms to cope with, because it's changing a lot and all the time. At least in Latvia, the law on AML changed like 10 times in the last 2 years. So if we can provide a client with a solution which is always up to date, and so the client can trust that all the files about all its clients are always correct, then he sees his added value there. For example, we have the second largest casino chain as our client, and that is very important for them, because they have online clients and they have local clients in real casinos, and they need to have files on all of them stored and accessible when the regulator comes. So we have another client who is a technology fund who is now doing subscriptions for their shares using our solution. So I can show you how it looks like. Here it is in Latvia right now, because we have not done a lot outside Latvia for now. So you can, we give access to our clients to develop their documents in the necessary format, and then they can automatically be filled. And in some instances, for example, for the case of casino, they need also automatic checking with some public databases, for example, for sanctions review and for company register information. In fact, we can implement all public databases upon request. So that's how generally it works. Yeah, so that's the home page of this tool. Yeah, so we are also giving some standard documents there, but this is like just was idea at the beginning that we should pass maybe to some people who would be interested just to increase the traffic to the site. With respect to attorneys, we cooperate with Association of Sworn Attorneys of Latvia and have invited any attorney actually from Latvia to join the platform and to provide his services here. So anyone could register his profile and schedule consultation through this. And we are also able to charge clients through the platform. So the attorney, if he does online conference here and the client pays, so we settle the payment. So considering that most of the business now is online, it is also a thing which helps attorneys to avoid like some additional cost and make it more effective to especially individual attorneys, which are mainly here. So what else is there? So you can sign, we have integrated also electronic signatures, which are quite popular in Baltic states, but I understand that it might not be the case in other countries. But we have also a solution which is similar to DocuSign, so which is not in fact legally binding in Europe, but maybe sometimes its client is happy to have this. And of course, we have cloud, and you can keep documents in your profile for all the time and have them accessible there. Here. So you can sign all of them and keep here and maybe put in folders and have everything in one place. So that is my story I wanted to tell, what we have.
Excellent. I already think of ally law applications of this.
Yeah, we probably will somehow try to go outside Latvia next year. So I look forward to cooperate with some ally law firms in doing that. We have good partners in neighboring countries, in Lithuania, for example, but outside that, we believe that we can cooperate with ally law on that.
Very interesting. Thank you. We'll come back. If you've got questions for Ansis, make a note of them or put them in the chat. And when we complete, we'll go back for questions. Secondly, we're going to turn to Chad Mitchell in Seattle. Just
I'm here, Wendy. Can you see me?
There you are. Yep. Let me just do a few little. Boom. There we go. So Chad is a partner at Summit Law Group. He has extensive experience. That's how much time you have left, Ansis. Very good.
I was quite effective. I used almost.
You were perfect. There we go. Chad handles complex commercial disputes and represents both U.S. and multinationals in environmental enforcement litigation in the U.S. and abroad. And Chad is going to talk to us about action steps, which I understand was part of a larger sort of technology set of decisions that Summit has undertaken recently. So Chad, the floor is all yours.
Great. Thank you, Wendy. In Seattle, it's morning, so I know it's evening in other parts of the world in mid-afternoon. So good morning, everyone from Seattle. Happy to be with you and talk a little bit about ActionStep this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have some PowerPoints that I hope will be helpful. So as Wendy said, before we go into all the bogged down to technology, so let's revisit. Long ago in 2020, Tiger King was a big deal. I don't know if anybody remembered that. At least in the US, it was a big deal. We did not watch that. Instead, to try and help get us through the pandemic, we got a puppy. That is Barley. And I thought, to keep with our international theme, Barley is part Australian Shepherd. So shout out to our friends in the other bottom corner of the world. So that's Barley. All right, so let's talk about how Summit got to an action step decision. And it actually is focused specifically on our litigation group. So we did a high-level strategic plan for a litigation group started in early 2018. And you can see we had a number of different areas that we wanted to focus on. If you see in the bottom right-hand corner where it says consistency, that's the part that actually ActionStep grew out of. We wanted to try and, within our litigation group, make a more consistent offering for our clients. And so we were looking for that to increase efficiencies, help our clients, distinguish us in the market. And you can see these are some of the things that we thought specifically we could do with what we refer to as, in shorthand, SWAY, which is the Summit way. So we wanted to be consistent and transparent, and you can read all those different bullet points. And so we really focused a lot on process and let that drive what we wanted to do. And then we actually went out and we hired a consultant. Summit is about 40 lawyers, and our litigation group is maybe 10 or 12. And so we have an IT person, our network guy, but we don't have, you'll hear some of the other firms, and I think Ansis is like us, a much smaller firm, have a lot of resources. We didn't. So we hired consultants to help us through this process, help us with execution. And one of the things they did was we said, okay, here's what we want to accomplish with our Summit Way goals. Go out and see if there's a product out there, a technology product out there that will help us better implement these goals. And so they did that, and they explored a number of technologies. And one thing I'll say is we could either build something ourselves, and Neota Logic was one way to do that, or we could buy something off the shelf. And we explored both of those scenarios, and ultimately we decided on ActionStep, so something off the shelf, so to speak. And so here are some of the more specific things that we wanted to build into this process, right? We wanted to be, if you think about, if my litigators in the group, we love checklists, right? We love process. We know we have to go through this process. And so we wanted to take a best practices checklist and use technology to help us take it from engagement letter, litigation hold, conflict check, all the way to our after action review once the case is over, and make sure everyone in the firm, in the litigation group, are hitting those same processes along the way. And so that was the idea behind using ActionStep to help us do that. For example, we need to have a budget. We need to get that budget out to the client in 60 days. We want to give the client an early case assessment as part of that. And so ActionStep was the tool that we landed on to try and help us hit each of those benchmarks, each of those tasks along the way, and also store within ActionStep so we could access, the best starting point for our discovery responses, the best starting point to consider for what we should look at in discovery, a stock settlement agreement that we can use for most of our cases. So that's So that's what we were trying to accomplish. We found ActionStep, and here is what it looks like a little bit. You can see you have the start up here in the upper left-hand corner. You know, you have the start, engagement letter, new matter intake, and it takes you all the way through the different phases of a case, at least from a US perspective, that you would have to deal with, and it helps walk you through that. And you can see there are specific things in this incomplete task that says, hey, you know, do you want a regular email report to be sent to your client that'll update the client on where we are in the case? You know, we have this ambassador check in with Chad and Denise about this new matter. Do you want a regular email for tasks? And so you can choose a lot of these different functions that if you want them in your case, it's a checklist for you to go through and make sure you're doing what we think are best practices and allow us to be consistent. So some of the other questions, you know, that Wendy wanted us to talk about is, how is this being received? You know, we rolled this out. Timing is everything, right? We rolled this out in February, and a couple things happened. A worldwide pandemic was already en route, and our litigation group actually grew by, you know, a third significantly for a group of our size. So I will say we have had some challenges in rolling this out. As you can imagine, change management is a huge issue. Some people, all the attorneys really like it because for us, it puts in our lap the different things we need to do in the case. The closer you get down to the people who have to do it every day, for example, the administrators, legal assistants, and paralegals, it's much more across the spectrum in terms of whether they're happy with it or not. Some people still think it's too inefficient. Some people think, you know, it's fine. And so we continue to work on implementing this. We also are working with ActionStep to try and figure out if there's more efficiencies we can use to make this product better. And I think one of the challenges for us is, and in hindsight, you know, Wendy also asked us to talk about 3 things we learned or 3 different things to recommend. One is, you know, be patient. This is a long process with a lot of steps, a lot of people, a lot of moving parts if you're trying to adopt new technology. 2 is execution, execution, execution. It's really hard for things not to stall out. We all know that. We all have limited amounts of time. And so make sure you have a way to execute on things before you start to roll it out. And then the third thing I would say is make sure the technology doesn't drive your process, right? Don't choose a piece of technology and then figure out how it's going to fit into what you want to do. I mean, obviously, if it's NetDocs, right, or some timekeeping matter, then that's not the type of technology I'm talking about. But here we understood our process, what we wanted to try and accomplish, and then we chose the software we thought might best help us to accomplish that. The one thing I'll say about ActionStep for people who are interested in potentially adopting it, it has a lot more capabilities than what we use it for. I think it can do time management, it can be contact management. We already have those things. So we're really trying to use it for a very specific task or system, basically project management for us, but it's a much more robust tool than what Summit is using it for. And on the one hand, that makes it very more challenging for us because now we have to integrate, right, NetDocs with this. We have to integrate our timekeeping system with this. We haven't been able to integrate our calendaring system, you know, our docket system, which has created headaches. And we knew that going in, and, you know, we took a risk, and so far it hasn't worked out. So I think that covers most of the things that Wendy asked me to cover, and I probably still have some time, just like Ansis did, and I will table the rest of it for now.
Thanks, Chad. I'm going to move to, there we go. Thanks very much. I'm going to move now to Katerina in Athens. Katerina is a corporate and finance partner. She works a lot in the energy sector and also has some of her responsibilities include litigation and arbitration. None of that is exactly related to what we're going to talk about next, but Katerina has, their firm has undertaken a project with Luminance, and she'll tell us a little bit more about that. Just one second. Let's get the spotlight shifted here. Where are you, Katerina? There you are. Great.
Thank you, Wendy. It's very nice to be with you, everyone. I would like to share with you today our law firm's experience with Luminance. But first, I would like to explain the need of our law firm for a tool like Luminance. So we do a lot of M&A work and project finance. And a big part of this practice is due diligence work. And we regularly undertake projects which are very complex and large scale. And that is very challenging for a law firm because we are a medium-sized law firm. We are 11 attorneys, and we often undertake projects which entail the review of hundreds and even sometimes thousands of documents. And the due diligence work is it needs a lot of resources, and it is very time consuming. And over the past few years, we realized that several changes have taken place, at least in our market. First of all, there are budget constraints. We are always required to cap our fees, and we are often requested to provide discounted rates. The second issue is that nowadays everything moves very fast, and clients, although they require an in-depth legal analysis, at the same time they do not want the due diligence to hold up the entire transaction process. So it is very usual for us to be required to provide a red flag within 2 weeks and an entire report within 1 month, which is very challenging for our firm. So although we had realized that we needed a tool to help us be more competitive versus other larger firms with bigger M&A teams, we were not actually actively looking for such a tool when Luminance approached us last year. Now, I will not make a proper presentation of Luminance, but I would like to show you how it looks and what it's like so that you get a glimpse of what we have benefited from. So Luminance is an artificial intelligence platform. You upload the documents. So let's imagine that we are doing the due diligence of a company called VoicePhone. And we upload the documents we have been provided with for the review. And let's say we are given with these 5,394 documents. You upload them in Luminance. And within a few hours, Luminance reads, understands, compares, and categorizes all these documents. So it recognizes document types.
Katerina, are you going to share your screen?
Sorry.
That's okay. Bottom navigation.
Sorry. Here it is.
Great.
So this is the main Luminance screen, and you can see here the number of documents uploaded. Luminance recognizes document types and contract types. It recognizes languages, places, clauses. So from the outset, for example, it recognizes that within these 5,000 documents, there are 10 documents in German, and immediately you know that you have to engage a German-speaking colleague on the project. By using filters, you can prioritize for review. For example, if you know that customer agreements are very crucial for VoicePhone Ltd, so you can start your review from here. And by using filters, you can, for example, review first the clauses that are most important for the transaction, such as a change of control, governing law, termination, etc. Because Luminance uses advanced algorithms and it looks at the characteristics of the documents, it categorizes the documents in clusters. And here, for example, it can tell us that within the customer agreement category, there are 49 documents that conform to a specific template, and that the big mass of the other documents conform to a different template. It also highlights anomalies, which is unusual variations of wordings. So here, it tells us, for example, that among these 1,948 documents, there are 9 documents with an additional wording in the change of control clause. So if you are interested in this and you want to look into detail, you go into the document. You can go to the change of control clause. And if you click here, you can see this peculiar clause side by side with a usual clause. And this way it is easy to go through documents and make notes. And Luminance has many features which allow you to tag clauses and extract them into a report. The first project we used Luminance was a project with mainly English and bilingual documents. So when we uploaded everything, our screen looked like very similar to this. Luminance immediately recognized the document types and the contract types, and it was very easy for us to start working on the due diligence. The second project mainly had Greek documents. And although at that time Luminance had the Greek machine learning feature, it did not recognize most of the documents uploaded. So most of the documents were under this category here, the gray, unknown. And what happens is that the machine interacts with the lawyers and it learns from the lawyers. So we had to teach it, for example, what a Greek employment agreement looks like and what a Greek notarial deed looks like, and that it is a property document. And Luminance is a very good pupil in the sense that once you show it something twice, it picks up the pattern and it categorizes, it classifies the remaining similar documents in the same category. But this teaching process takes a lot of time. If I could give an overview of the benefits of Luminance, I can say that it has been a great marketing tool. It has helped us strengthen our brand as an innovative law firm. It does save time. It does help you prioritize your review. It saves costs. You don't need to print anymore. You don't have to carry huge files from the office to home and back to the office. Many people can review the same documents at the same time. It gives you the comfort that there are no hidden risks that you might miss in the manual due diligence exercise. And it has offered us an added value in the sense that clients, at least in our market, are not prepared to pay an increased cost for the use of Luminance on their projects. But we always use Luminance in our proposals because we can offer our clients faster service and quicker results than other companies that who use the traditional way of review of documents. On the downside, I would say that you have to invest time. The team has to work with Luminance on at least 2 projects so that it learns the platform and it makes the most out of it. But also it is necessary for Luminance to learn how the team works, to learn from the team's expertise and to become more bespoke. Another issue is the fact that Luminance is expensive in the sense that besides the upfront fee that you pay, there is also a daily rate. And you have to plan things very carefully. You have to upload documents only when you're absolutely sure that the entire team is ready to work on the project. And you have to be sure that the team stays coordinated throughout the project. Otherwise, you end up paying Luminance for days when no one is actually working on the platform. All in all, what we've learned from Luminance is that artificial intelligence is the future. But that does not mean that we are going to be redundant. But if we want to survive, we have to adapt and we have to change our approach to work. And in fact, Luminance does help us with a more descriptive type form of work. And on the other hand, it leaves us time to think, to make a legal assessment, to use our judgment, to propose solutions to a client. And in fact, that is the most challenging part of our work. And that's what the essence of our work is. So we do plan to invest time and money on Luminance in the future and make the most out of it. They continue adding features which make it even more useful. And we are also going to consider more technology tools in the future.
Great. Thank you very much, Katerina.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move to Vorys. Tony, do you want to kick off the presentation for Vorys, or who would be?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Let me get your. So Tony is the managing partner of the Cleveland office of Vorys, member of the litigation practice group. He has his director of pricing, Mahfuz, and his project paralegal, Daniel, with him, and the three will talk about the firm's use of Clocktomizer. And I will get your cohorts here equally spotlighted.
Well, they should be primarily spotlighted because I know nothing.
Okay. So we're going to spotlight you to begin with, and then we'll see, where's Daniel? Great, there we go.
So
gentlemen, take it away.
Thanks. Well, hello to everyone across the globe. I've brought with me today two of my colleagues from our finance department. Mahfuz is the director of strategic pricing, and Dan is a client quality analyst. He does a lot of work facing our clients. And they're going to talk about a product that Vorys invested in called Clocktomizer. And it, in fair substance, for we lawyers, or for us lawyers, it's a product that, as I call it, it scrapes your timesheets, and it pulls content out, and it allows us to do some very sophisticated budget control, and it also allows us to do some very sophisticated analytics in advance of responding to requests, RFPs, requests for proposal, requests for information. So I'll turn it over to Dan and Mahfuz to walk the group through this product.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks a lot, Tony. Hello, everyone. So I think Katerina touched on some subjects, and maybe Chad before that. When we were trying to, before we came into this artificial intelligence world and came across Clocktomizer, which is a startup from Netherlands, by the way, started by an ex-attorney. We would do all these things manually. We would go through and look at comparables for, like, if you have to create a budget and things like that. If it's a $1 million budget for like major litigation, then we would look at those time cards, manually, and it would take a couple of us like weeks to come up with it, and it was not as efficient, as you would think. And then the other piece of it was that if we don't do it manually, then we have to use those task codes, the ABA, task codes. And that's where it became very cumbersome for the attorneys, because they want to do their work, litigate, and do their narratives, which they're good at. But once you introduce those phase and task codes, then it becomes, the efficiency comes at a cost, because everybody has a different way of looking at the same data, and you can choose different phase and task codes. So it was not very consistent. So there was like potential for user, different timekeepers using different standards, and obviously an inability to capture nuance. And also, and that's when we started looking at the projects that matters that had those codes. When we started looking at those, we were not very confident that this was very accurate. And that's why we were trying to look for something, and we came across Clocktomizer. It's an artificial intelligence tool. It has those machine learning. It goes through our narratives, scrapes the data, and tries to make sense of it. And and the more you feed it and the more you work at it, it gets very, very accurate. And instead of weeks, now we can do this data slicing and dicing in, like, let's say, within minutes. It's like really a revolutionary product. So Dan, I would hand it over to you.
Thanks, Mahfuz. And thanks for that good explanation of basically the way that Clocktomizer works is that it reads your time cards. It's using the narratives that the timekeepers themselves enter into our finance software. And based on that, it assigns certain, what Clocktomizer calls activities that we can then look at across an entire matter or an entire client. So if we see the example here that the narrative contained mentions of interrogatories and document production. So what Clocktomizer would do is take the total time spent for that particular time card and divide it evenly between interrogatories and document production. This is pretty plain to see how the algorithm pulled these two activities. Clocktomizer won't tell us exactly how their technology works, but it can do more than just plain language that you're seeing here. It can pick up certain common acronyms like MSJ for motion for summary judgment, or PSA for purchase and sale agreement. So we know that it has advanced AI technology, as Katerina was saying before. It's the way of the future. So we have to learn to adapt to it. So then they can take the activities, and we can see this is a live case that Tony has volunteered to share with the group. So we can see all of the activities that were going on over the course of this piece of litigation, and the amount of hours that were spent. The metrics that you can use are quite versatile. So we can see it in hours, we can see in standard value, in build value, in write-off. So we can tell exactly where our time is being spent. And then on another level of analysis, if activities are too specific of type of work that you're looking to analyze, what you can do is create activity groups. So these would roughly correspond to the phase codes that the ABA put together. So the difference here is we can create the groups ourselves. We can sort activities into the groups that we want and that we think are relevant. And then you can, again, look at the work done and see exactly according to which phase of litigation, how much time was spent, how much was billed. But even beyond the AI technology, there's quite a bit of data lurking behind the time cards that's available for analysis. So a common use that Mahfuz and I use when we meet with attorneys is to look at the leverage breakdown. So here we see the difference time that was spent between partner and associates and paralegals. We can also tell the development of activities over time. So we can see at a certain point in time what activity was prominent, how it grew as the matter progressed. We can see that same visualization in terms of which timekeeper level is doing the work at a particular moment in time. There's really just quite a variety of metrics and statistics that we can drill down into. We can even.
And could I just interject here just real quickly? Two comments. One, we learned from this experience. This is actually a case we tried last August, 3 of us. And one of the things that we learned is the hours of cross-examination during the hearing. We're doing a follow-on case, so that helped us budget for the follow-on case. But the big point here is we lawyers, and I am guilty of this, need to be more precise in identifying cross-examination hours, direct examination hours to get the maximum benefit at the backside. So there's a little bit of education that goes with this as well. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, no, I think that's a good point. There will still be asks of timekeepers, just like, you know, there would be an ask of a phase and a task code. But the difference here is there's so much more that you can do with the data beyond the phase and the task code. But it does require some discipline on the attorney's part. So we can even drill down to the time card level here by clicking on one of the activities, and it'll bring up the actual time cards and the work done and the timekeeper who recorded it. So it's really neat for capturing that level of nuance that a phase and a task code really isn't going to do for you. And this is the telemarketer portion of the presentation. It slices, it dices, and as I was saying, there's so much data that can kind of be overlooked normally, that Clocktomizer brings it front and center in a variety of different visualizations. It centralizes. Clocktomizer is pulling directly from our firm's financial software, so every night it refreshes, and we know that all the data is in one place. It's accurate, it's up to date, and it's even customizable. The program is very flexible. You can get the data into a PDF or Excel file if you need to, so that you can manipulate it further. And Clocktomizer, the company, has been very willing to work with us and with other law firms to refine the program. I think we had an issue of a few activities that we wanted to basically turn off that would make our data even more accurate, and they're very responsive to that. And as far as what we have used Clocktomizer for, I literally think of new things pretty much every day that we can leverage this technology for. Frequently, we have attorneys come to us that are working on a fee proposal, and if they have even just one similar matter in the past, we can pull that up very quickly and just show them the leverage of timekeepers, how many hours it took, and they can use that data to then work on their fee proposal. Another feature that we can do is to create a budget. The program is, again, very flexible. You can create a budget based on activities, or just a monthly budget. You can make a timekeeper budget, and then be able to monitor that budget over the course of the entire length of the matter. You can schedule reports so that the program will automatically send an email if you're approaching a limit on a particular budget category. And again, as we saw, you can get down even to the time card level. You can do a full text search of time cards if you're looking for, let's say, the name of a particular witness, and you just wanted to isolate that time. We can do that, and it's really easy. You can group matters across all different clients. If you're looking at a particular type of matter that you want to analyze, and I think probably the most powerful way of using Clocktomizer is just sitting down with an attorney and getting this data in front of them, and the level of understanding that they bring to it, and that we in the finance department can complement. It's really helping us to better serve our clients and to provide more value. So Tony or Mahfuz, I don't know if you had anything else to add.
I do not. Mahfuz?
No, I mean, I do not, but I can tell you this as a tool, is very user friendly to use, even from a smaller firm of like maybe 5 to 10 attorneys to bigger clients, which they're using for almost like a top 5 law firms in the world. And it's a subscription-based fees. I believe it's about 500 euros per subscription. At a firm our size, we use about 5 or 6 subscriptions. And in a typical firm, you can get away with 1 or 2 subscriptions and have this data in your hands.
That's an annual fee?
Monthly fees.
Monthly fees.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm going to put this back to the big group. We have a number of questions, and I'd ask if you've got questions of our panelists to unmute. And to feel free to ask away. Maybe we could start with Harvey. You've got a question for action steps for Chad. There you go.
Yes, although Chad also responded in chat down below.
Okay.
I think that covers it for me.
Great. Chad, do you plan to roll this out to other practice areas? And if so, what might be suitable?
So we have not done that yet. We've talked about it we have basically 3 other groups besides litigation. We have a M&A group, we have a real estate group, and we have a labor and employment group. It makes the most sense to do it for our employment litigation, which we already have. The jury's still out on whether it would make sense to do it for the other practice areas at our firm.
Great. Couple questions for Katerina, one from Peter Visser. How does Luminance fit with online virtual data rooms through which documents are made accessible?
It does fit. I haven't done it myself. Our IT department does it, but they upload the documents from the VDRs directly to the Luminance platform.
And what forms of documents can be reviewed? Word, PDF, Excel?
Luminance says that they can read all types of documents. We have tried it with Word and PDF. We haven't tried Excel documents. We had no problems, just we noticed that in one of our projects we had really old PDF scans from the 60s, documents that were typewritten. And there we noticed that Luminance had a problem reading these documents, but they were really poor scans.
Got it.
Can I ask an additional question, Wendy, to Katerina? Just came up across my mind. So, Katerina, you also mentioned, I believe, that Luminance is able to identify change of control provisions in various contracts, which, of course, is very helpful because that's what we're looking for in a due diligence. But how confident are you that indeed the system has identified all change of control provisions that are there, and how do you deal with that aspect? Do you include a disclaimer when you're advising the client, or how do you deal with that?
Well, to tell you the truth, especially with our second project, which was in mostly Greek documents, we double-checked because manually, we reviewed all the contracts afterwards. And because the Luminance was not taught in Greek. So there we were not that comfortable. And we did find discrepancies, but I think that it was because it could not, the machine learning in Greek was not that robust. In the English documents, we found no mistake at all.
Wow.
Okay,
Chad,
that sounds very interesting.
Your question to Vorys?
Yeah, sure. So on Clocktomizer, I'm trying to figure out how much the AI and the logarithms kick out a budget for you with variable inputs regarding a specific case, as opposed to it kicking out data for you from which you then have to build the budget for your particular matter?
Well, Clocktomizer actually has a feature, a fee proposal feature. So you can either tell it a matter that you know is similar, or it can actually do the work for you of looking up similar matters based on the types of activities that that occurred, and it can create a budget straight from that, which is very again very easy to manipulate. You can do a budget based on activity, or you could do it based on a simple monthly budget, or by timekeeper level, or you can just essentially freehand and create a budget without having to rely on a previous case.
So follow-up question there, if I can, real quick. How accurate have you found the budgets you build, either with Clocktomizer, you know, its own process to kick out a budget, or you tweaking it? How accurate have you found those to be compared to what actually plays out in real life?
Fairly accurate. I mean, the program is not perfect, so we do have to tweak it. I suppose that helps guarantee us employment in the future. Tony can't get rid of us that easily, but the technology, it gets better. I can say, you know, we've been using Clocktomizer over the course of 2 years, so it's been getting more accurate and easier to work with as we iron out the wrinkles in the program. So.
Yeah, and I would like to add on to that. As I said, like, this is all data learning, machine learning. So the more data you have in there, the more accurate it becomes. If you're looking at one matter or comparables, obviously, then it can be shaky. But if you're looking at 5, then it starts getting to a variable of maybe 5% or something like that. So it gets, as more matters you get, it gets more accurate.
And for all 4, you've adopted this as a way to differentiate your firms. Is there any cost recovery from the client side that you build in with this? Or is it purely a increase in efficiency and accuracy from your end, but you don't bill for it? Anyone can jump in.
I mean, from a Vorys point of view, this is specifically a value-add thing. It makes us better. It helps us serve our clients better, more efficiently, more accurately. So we do not pass on the cost.
Yes, we charge for this, for implementation and for service, so it's additional revenue stream. So we charge for setup of automation and for maintenance as well, and usually get also additional work due to like close ties with the client.
Got it. Chad?
It's part of our overhead.
Katerina, the same for you?
No, we don't charge. We don't charge either.
And for 3 of you, it's not client facing. So that may also be part of it. Your clients aren't involved in the platform specifically. So if you're, for our speakers, if you look at you know, the variety of firms even on this call that may not have considered tools like this before, I'd love to end up with just a couple points of advice as our other member firms consider adding tools like this. What could you offer that you may find beneficial and that they may find useful in their own assessment of platforms like these? I wish someone had told me.
For me, it's very easy. I will reach out maybe to some of Ali Law members to try to cooperate in their jurisdictions. So this is like independent tool in general. It's not like cost. So we are working and will be working even more intense next year on making this more universal and easy to implement in any jurisdiction, because it's just technology tool. It's not like jurisdiction specific.
Great, thanks, Ansis. Words of advice, Chad or Tony, Katerina?
I'll just reiterate again, don't underestimate change management. The status quo is a powerful thing to overcome.
The puppy helps with that though, right?
I would, Wendy, I would just reiterate the comment I made earlier that, Mahfuz and Dan are fantastic in operating this for our benefit. The lawyers do need to be conditioned, to utilize it and work with them to improve it. And then there needs to be a little bit of collaboration on your verbiage, the particularity, granularity of your time cards so that it maximizes the effect.
Great, thanks, Tony.
For us, I wish someone had told us that we would have to invest so much time. And one mistake we made is that we involved from the outset the entire firm, assuming that everyone will adapt very quickly and will pick up on the new process. And although everyone was very enthusiastic at first, when they realized how much work this involved, gradually we saw that we should have selected a Luminance dedicated team first, and then maybe allow more people in the team.
Excellent. Thank you very much to our speakers and to our members who attended this session. Very, very helpful. If there is interest in potentially demos of any of these tools, please let us know and we can try to coordinate a group that might be interested in finding out more. Thanks everyone for your time today, and with that, we'll close the session.